This is a picture of Lee Haney right after he won the 1984 Mr. Olympia event, getting his hand shaken there by Joe Weider. What a prestige. It was his very first ever Olympia in 1984. He held on to that title for a record 8 times, dominated the bodybuilding world like nobody else. What a champion, what a champion. Would it even been possible for anybody to ever defeat the record of Lee Haney? And of course, Ronnie Coleman later on matched that record with 8. Well, if you rewind the bodybuilding tape a bit back to 1975, there was Lou Ferrigno. He was a young, up-and-coming bodybuilder. Let's face it, guys, with all due respect to Frank Zane, who held on to the title in the late 70s, with all due respect to him, I believe that Lou Ferrigno, without a doubt, would have garnered that Mr. Olympia title with the absence of Arnold Schwarzenegger, because he was always placing second string to one Arnold Schwarzenegger, was Lou Ferrigno. He retired and went to play, of course, the Incredible Hulk. So he never really did get to see, or we as fans also, we never got to see the true potential of Lou Ferrigno. But lo and behold, he did return in the 90s. After Lee Haney retired, he was in his 40s, and he looked tremendous. So it's obvious, guys, if he was able to pull this off in his 40s, that he would have also probably looked better, let's face it, if he had continued to train as a bodybuilder throughout the 70s. So it's actually possible that Lou Ferrigno could have had the title in 1984, facing up against a young, hungry Lee Haney. What a match it would have been. But the thing is, would we use this version of Lou Ferrigno? Some of you would say it's not really fair, including myself, considering he showed vast improvements from 73 to 74 on to 75, and then he returned in his 40s looking tremendous. But would that be fair to use this version of Lou Ferrigno, considering all the more modern day advancements, things of that nature? Well, in my opinion, considering he was 40 plus years old and he had not trained all throughout the late 70s and all throughout the 80s as a real bodybuilder, I think it's more than fair to use the best of Lou Ferrigno that we have. I mean, come on. If he had held that title on, could you imagine how big he would have been? He was a mass monster for the 70s. So, of course, he'd be a mass monster in the 80s. And in the 90s, the front double bicep pose was never the best pose for Lee Haney, let's face it. And in a direct comparison, dare I say, Lou Ferrigno, good separated quads, nice sized legs. Lou Ferrigno always had a good sized set of wheels. The arms even, I mean, like I said, it's not the best pose for Lee Haney, and hate to ruffle any feathers of Lou Ferrigno, but the arms were never a strong point, hold on a second, in the front double bicep pose. Obviously, in other shots, side chest, in all of the other shots, and obviously the most muscular, his arms are outstanding. And don't get me wrong, they're even beating Lee Haney here. The biceps, triceps, but he was going up against a guy like Arnold Schwarzenegger. So, yeah, against him, might not have been the best arms. But I mean, I gotta say, he is defeating Lee Haney. But Lee Haney's no stranger to a loss in this pose. Let's have a look at the 70s one. And I'm not going to be doing this for all of them. Just for this pose, you can see Lou, the torso heap, much improved. And as a younger man, his arms might have been better. So if he had continued to train as a bodybuilder, his arms may have been even better than Arnold Schwarzenegger. You can see he even had large legs back in the day. Maybe wasn't the fashion at the time to have quads maybe that big. Anyway, in today's lineups, more the merrier when it comes to wheel size. But the next pose is going to be a Lee Haney shot. And this is the more modern day Lou Ferrigno. He is a big chunk of a lad. Look at that. Huge wheels. But Lee Haney's got some qualities about his wheels as well. Look at the feathering earlier on in his career. It's, of course, 1983 for those of you with a keen eye, couldn't find a front lat spread, or at least a decent one, from 1984. But close enough, and the fact that he's defeating Lou Ferrigno in this shot doesn't really matter. He'd be beating him even worse. I'm sure he was better in 84. He placed, what did he place? Third in 84? I should have did my homework on that one, but anyway, he never ever did place second. Lou Ferrigno placed second to Arnold. Not in 75, in 74. 75, he placed third. Serge Nabret defeated Lou Ferrigno. Sorry about the history lesson. All that mass does Lou Ferrigno no justice, no good in this pose. It's about the lats, it's about the V-taper, and of course, Lee Haney's no Tinkerbell. He has muscle as well on a smaller frame. Turn to the side here. What a little matchup this is. I searched the entire net, high and or low. Can't find a good side chest pose of the modern onstage Lou Ferrigno. There was some guest posing ones. There was some ones of him kneeling down, and I don't like to use that one. This one's a good one. Keep in mind his conditioning got better. And his wheels got a lot bigger. You can see that. Lee Haney, actually a fantastic set of quads here from the side. It's a photo shoot of Lee, of course. But I think it's fair, though. Lou's chest and arms are just so much. I just don't think that Lee Haney, if this was a refined, keep that in mind, guys. This is, in my imagination, this is if Lou Ferrigno, he had held that title from 77. Give it to Franco in 76. It's from 77 all the way to 84. Wow, he would have improved. He'd be unbeatable. He'd be unbeatable in this pose for sure. And I think Lee's good in this pose, but I think Lou Ferrigno, he's great. Go to the back, and this is unfortunate. I despise this picture of Lou Ferrigno, not because Lou's back is no good. He's old school. He was not flexing his glutes at all, maybe a little bit when they were striking the poses, and he's not opened up yet. So it's taken at the wrong time. So why do I use it? Well, it's the only modern day rear lat spread I can find. There is this one here. It's a screenshot of Lou in 75. And he, it does not that much justice either. You can see that he does have a decent back in the lat spread. It's taken at a terrible angle. It's tilted thusly and thusly. Look at Lee Haney. Pretty good condition, I have to say, for 1984. But you have to use your imagination. Lou Ferrigno, he would have been hard to beat. Would have been the best back of all time. Now, the rear double actually shows Lou Ferrigno, he doesn't have steroided glutes or anything like that. But his conditioning, obviously, 10 times better than it was from that awful rear lat spread picture. Don't even know why I showed that. Poor guy. Soggy donk. But anyway, this here rear double, he's got some good lat insertions. Nice, clean, neat shot. Lee Haney, unfair for him. I had to show this one, though. It is from 1984. But it's tilted thusly, so it does not give him a fair shake as far as width is concerned. So, if we're going to be fair to Lou, got to be fair to Lou, fair to Ferrigno. Got to be fair to Haney, too. And let's slap on a 1991 of Lee, because that's only the only real straight-on rear double by you can find. That's not a rusty old screenshot from a video. And I got to say, his conditioning... Actually, you know what? Let's even be even more fair to Lou. Let's have a look at this one, because you can see some striations in his glutes. I don't think there has been a better picture taken of an on-stage Lou rear double by, but he's not really hitting the rear double by, so I don't usually use this one. But I think in all fairness, because this is the 91 Lee Haney, I think Ferrigno would have retired by then. Well, you never know. You never know. You know how many titles it's possible that Ferrigno could have won? 20? Might still be champion. Hey, he's still slinging down them meals. Who would have won the abs and thigh between these two dudes? Lou Ferrigno, never a terrible abs and thigh shot. I don't like to use the one from the 70s because it's like the front double. It's you can't see detail, and it's blurry, it distorts the size, everything. It's just no good. And it's obvious that when you're in your 40s, you're going to have a better abs and thigh as a younger man, right? So you can imagine Lou Ferrigno would have had a more than decent abs and thigh for sure. But Lee Haney, who never had the best abs for sure, he's defeating Lou Ferrigno on many aspects about this pose. The V-taper, look at the lats. Lee Haney was a true freak when it came to the back development, the lats. Unbelievable. And in this pose, he's winning in the quad size, but hard to size when the camera angles are so much different, for sure. But at the end of the day, it would have been a darn close matchup, guys. And there was no most muscular back in the day, but of course, these guys both did hit it. You're not going to ignore it. Lou Ferrigno's best pose. So, obviously, he was a man before his time. Now, here's a better one of Lee Haney. A more form-fitting matchup, crab position versus crab position. Haney not known for this shot, but I have to say, he's holding his own against the beast, the man beast. 6 feet 5 inches, 300 pounds of Lou Ferrigno. So the question is, could Lou Ferrigno have held on to that title from, say, 77? We'll give Columbo the 76. So 77 to 74, this would have been his 8th title. Could he have won 8 titles up until 1984? I would wager to say yes. I think he easily could have. Now, would Lee Haney eventually overthrown Lou Ferrigno? Probably. You never know. Maybe Lou Ferrigno would have held that title up until 92. You never know. Wow, that would have been a heck of a lot of titles. Hit thumbs up on the video if you enjoyed it. If you agree or disagree, whether you think a 1984 Lee Haney would have defeated a prime Lou Ferrigno. Keep in mind, there was never really a prime Lou Ferrigno, but hypothetically, if Lou had have maintained that title all through the late 70s up until 84, would that version of Lee defeated him? I think not. Hit thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. Have a great day.